What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at Harold Dad to your left and Joe Sandy Saller to your right. Both men were champions. One bantamweight and one was a featherweight champion. Sandy Saller was born June 23, 1926 in Boston, Massachusetts. He died September 18, 2001. He was 75 years of age at the time of his death. He stood 5 foot 8.5 inches and had a 70-inch reach. He had total bouts of 163 fights, 145 wins, 104 astonishing knockouts, 16 losses with 2 draws. Fought from 1944 to 1956. He was a featherweight champion. He was a junior lightweight champion. And he was one hell of a fighter. I had the pleasure of meeting Sandy Saller. Multiple occasions. Great stories. Understanding of life. And the game of boxing. Sandy Saller would lose his eye vision to a thumbing of Sandy Saller's opponent, Willie Pep. Now, it's in the record books that he lost his eye vision due to a car accident, taxi cab to be exact. Well, that's partially true, but Sandy Saller did not want to report his vision impairing from the Willie Pep fight because he wanted to continue with his career. And one of the reasons Willie Pep had his license revoked in the state of New York, it was perceived that he threw a fight with Lulu Perez. And he was suspended from boxing because referee Ray Miller out of Chicago was thrown to the canvas. And part of the decision was the rough tactics and the thumbing of Sandy Saller. Sandy Saller would defeat Willie Pep September 26, 1951. New York's Polo Grounds. 9 out of 15 rounds. He would become a featherweight champion of the world. Young man out of Boston, New York. He would reside in Manhattan, Harlem's New York. Quiet as is kept. Sandy Saller had ran with Walker Smith. Spider Valentine. His name was Louis Spider Valentine. And a heavyweight by the name of Danny Cox. Now, Harry Smith was a colored middleweight champion. Fought out of Harlem, New York. Before he passed away, he would give jobs to Walker Smith, Danny Cox, Louis Spider Valentine at the Harlem Opera House. Joe Sandy Saller, young man at the time, would hang out with these gentlemen. Sandy Saller would become the junior lightweight champion when he defeated Diego Sosa, February 28, 1951, Havana, Cuba. Tuesday, March 21st, 1944, Sandy Saller was knocked out in the 3rd round over Jack Leslie. Auditorium of Hartford, Connecticut. Referee was Johnny Clooney. Saller would lose to Phil Terranova. Terranova was some fighter. July 23rd, 1946. Terranova would become a featherweight champion. But I gotta tell you, Sandy Saller had a really good fight with Flash Alorte. And he was a southpaw from the Philippines. He would become champion as well. He reminded me of a Manny Pacquiao with his foot movement, southpaw position, very fast hands. Very underrated fighter was Flash Alorte. Sandy Saller would be in the ring with Gaby Lewis. He would defeat him. Old Bones Joe Brown. Joe Brown was a lightweight champion. He defeated Wallace Bud Smith and lost his crown to Carlos Ortiz from the Bronx, New York. Joe Brown was from New Orleans. He was a master technical boxer. But his time had come when he faced Carlos Ortiz, one of the greatest lightweights in boxing. Sandy Saddler would be in the ring with Jimmy Carter. Now that was a neighborhood rivalry because Jimmy Carter would date a young lady by the name of Lulu Bell on 106th Street and 2nd Avenue. Well, Sandy Saddler also liked Lulu Bell. She was the darling of the neighborhood. Beautiful young lady. And one way of getting back at Jimmy Carter for taking the neighborhood queen was to get in the ring with the lightweight champion. In fact, Jimmy Carter, to this day, was the only lightweight champion who would regain his title 2 separate occasions. He would become a 3-time lightweight champion. He would take the title away from Ike Williams out of Trenton, New York, knocking him out in 8 rounds. Ike Williams was a power puncher who would knock out the great Bo Jack in 1948, 6th round, put him up against the ropes, using his head as a piñata. As you know, Bo Jack had 21 main event fights in the great New York's Madison Square Garden. Quite a history. But Jimmy Carter was some fighter. Sandy Saddler would have a draw with him. He'd be in the ring with Willie Pep 3 separate occasions, defeat him twice and lose to him once. No fairness to Willie Pep. Be involved in a plane crash incident. Come back and retain his title. Sandy Saddler would be in the ring with Charlie Riley out of St. Louis. He was defeat him. Charlie Riley was a very, very good fighter. But he would face Harold Dadd with Sandy Saddler. Harold Dadd was born March 24th, 1923 out of Chicago, Illinois. He died July 17th, 1962. He was 39 years of age at the time of his death. He would pass away the same year as Benny Kid Paret. Harold Dadd stood 5 foot 5 inches. He had a 68 and a quarter inch reach. Fought from 1942 to 1955. Same year that Archie Moore would face Rocky Marciano in the death of Emmett Till. He had a fighting career record of 76 total bouts, 38 wins. He had 32 losses, 8 knockouts. He was stopped 4 times and had 6 draws. See, Harold Dadd was in it for the money and only the money. Much more talented than what his record shows. Matter of fact, Harold Dadd was a hell of a fighter. Just one of those things. You get guys that just show up to the gym, show up to the arena, collect their paycheck, and go home. Those who knew Harold Dadd, who knew him very well, knew how good of a fighter he really, really was. Now, he won 3 out of 3 Chicago Golden Gloves in a 112-pound weight division. Won a World Bantamweight Championship belt. January 6, 1947, Dadd defeated 75-13-3 Mexicans California champion, NBA, Manuel Ortiz. Fought him at the Civic Auditorium, 15 rounds. He would win the Bantamweight champion of the world. What a proud moment that was for Harold Dadd. But on March 11, 1947, he would face 75-14-3, the Olympic Auditorium, Los Angeles, California. He would lose the NBA Bantamweight Championship belt to Manuel Ortiz. It was for the World Bantamweight Championship belt. He would lose in a 15-round unanimous decision. And that was heartbreaking to Howard Dad. That fight he really, really wanted to win. But see what happens when you do not prepare as you should. These are the results. Friday, September 2nd, 1949. Find himself in a ring with Sandy Sadler. Sandy Sadler was 107-2. Fought in Chicago Stadium. 10 rounds. It was for a black charity event. And these guys would mix it up. But unfortunately for Howard Dad, he was in there with a better fighter. That was a great war between these two men. Howard Dad would also find himself in a ring with Percy Bassett, Lois Salis, Willie Pep, Jackie McCoy, Charlie Riley, and Manuel Ortiz. I just wanted to discuss these two very good fighters. Howard Dad, Sandy Sadler. Thanks for hanging in there with me. This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute to Howard Dad and Sandy Sadler. Two champions, two different weight divisions, two different goals. You learn about these fighters right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Until next time, peace.